All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about one of the biggest shakeups happening in the data world right now, and it's all about Power BI. What we all knew as the absolute king of data visualization tools, well, it's becoming something completely different.
So let me just start with a question that really frames this whole conversation. What if the best business intelligence tool isn't actually a BI tool anymore? I know it sounds a little crazy, but that's the absolute core of Microsoft's strategy for 2025 and beyond.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to break down Power BI's big pivot. Look at the new AI battlefield it's now fighting on. Peek under the hood at Microsoft Fabric. See how Copilot is changing absolutely everything. Talk about the true cost of all this power, and then wrap up with your next strategic moves. Let's do this.
First up, the platform pivot. And the main thing to get your head around here is that you have to change the way you think about Power BI. It is just not a tool for building pretty dashboards anymore. That era is over.
And this entire shift is being driven by something called Microsoft Fabric. Now think of Fabric as this new all-in-one home for a company's data. It's pulling together data engineering, data science, and BI into one single place, all designed to finally kill the data silos and the lag time that drives every data analyst crazy.
So, here it is, the single most important takeaway. Power BI is no longer a standalone product. You've got to see it now as the dedicated BI workload that lives inside the much bigger Fabric ecosystem. It's basically the pretty face, the visualization layer for this gigantic integrated data platform. This isn't just a name change, it's a fundamental re-architecture of everything.
So you might be asking, why? Why make this huge change? Well, that brings us to the new AI battlefield. This pivot wasn't really a choice for Microsoft, it was a necessity. The rules of the game have changed, and just being the best at making charts isn't going to cut it anymore.
And this chart really tells you everything you need to know. It's all about where the money is going. Global IT spending is through the roof, but just look at software. It's growing at over 15%, totally dwarfing everything else. And you know what the number one reason for that is? The race to cram generative AI into every single piece of business software out there.
This is exactly why Microsoft can afford to make such a massive, bold move. I mean, look at this. With over 20% of the market share, Power BI is the undisputed leader. That dominance gives them the power, the leverage, to basically rewrite the rules and drag its millions of users into this new platform-first world.
And this slide just nails the strategic shift. The old fight was all about who had the slickest charts or the fastest standalone tool. The new fight? It's about who has the most powerful, unified AI platform with airtight, end-to-end governance. We've moved past tool versus tool. This is now an ecosystem versus ecosystem war.
So let's pop the hood on that ecosystem. What exactly is this Fabric engine that's driving this entire transformation?
At its core, Fabric basically takes these super powerful but separate Microsoft tools, Power BI for visuals, Synapse for warehousing, Data Factory for moving data around, and smashes them all together into one service. It's all built on a foundation they call OneLake. The easiest way to think of OneLake is as a single giant lake of data for your whole company, which means you stop making endless copies of data, and that is the secret sauce that makes real-time insights possible. But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. Adopting Fabric is not for the faint of heart. It has what we call the greenfield problem. It literally starts as a blank page, and getting it to do anything useful requires serious expert setup, a lot of manual configuration, and yeah, even coding for the really complex stuff. So it's incredibly powerful, but it is not easy.
And that leads us perfectly into the Copilot revolution. So if Fabric is this beast of an engine that's super powerful but complex, then Copilot is the friendly, intelligent interface that's designed to let everyone drive it. It's Microsoft's answer to a massive, industry-wide headache.
And this quote just says it all. There just aren't enough data scientists and analysts to go around. The demand for answers from data is exploding, and the number of people who can actually provide those answers is tiny in comparison. It's a huge bottleneck for basically every company on the planet.
This is where Copilot comes in. It's meant to automate the whole analytics process. You can literally ask it a question in plain English, and boom, it builds a chart. For the pros, it can spit out ridiculously complex DAX code in seconds. It can even look at a finished dashboard and write a paragraph summarizing what it all means. The whole point is to bridge that talent gap by turning everyone into a data analyst. Okay, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But what's it going to cost me? And this is where things get really, really tricky. Because that sticker price you see, It's not even close to the whole story.
For years, this number has been Power BI's secret weapon, an unbelievably cheap entry price. For just $14 a user per month, thousands of companies have said, yeah, sign us up. But trust me, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Because the real total cost of ownership, once you start adding in the computing power you need, the premium features, the training, it can easily jump to around $100 per user per month. A huge difference.
So why the massive price jump? It's because of this shift to a capacity-based pricing model. You're not just paying for user licenses anymore. You're paying for raw computing power, which they measure in capacity units. Now look at this table. That F-64 SKU is the really important one. That's the minimum level you have to buy just to let free users in your company view reports. That right there sets a really high price floor if you want to use this across your whole enterprise.
And this new model creates a brand new risk you need to worry about: throttling. It's simple. If your team's reports and queries use up more of those capacity units than you've paid for, Fabric just slows everything down. Reports take forever to load, so suddenly managing your costs isn't just a finance problem, it becomes a technical problem about how efficiently your data models are built.
So, with all of that on the table, what's your next move? How do you think about this strategically as you head into 2025?
Here are the big ones. First, you have to stop thinking of Power BI as just a piece of software you buy. It is now a major architectural commitment to the entire Fabric platform. Second, you got to throw out your old spreadsheets for calculating costs. Your models have to shift from simple per-user fees to this dynamic, consumption-based world. Third, and this is huge, before you let everyone loose with Copilot, you absolutely must get your data governance in order. And finally, you have to invest in your people. You need teams that get both data operations and data governance.
And looking a little further down the road, this whole platform strategy is about getting ready for the next wave of AI. We're moving from helpful copilots that give you a hand to truly autonomous AI agents that can actually make decisions and pursue goals all by themselves. Microsoft is betting that Fabric will be the essential data foundation needed to power these new agents. Which leaves us with one final, pretty heavy question to think about. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's where the industry is heading, and fast. So as you plan your strategy, you really have to ask yourself, is our data, the quality, the governance, the structure, is it really truly ready for an AI agent to take the wheel?